All right, hello everybody. I got a question this morning. The question is, what do I look for, good or bad, in potential jurors? Now, there are three things that I look for and three things that I want the jury to understand that I start with at the very beginning during jury selection, which is called voir dire. Okay? And I hit on these things during voir dire, I hit on these during opening statements, and I hit on these during closing arguments. And the three things that I want a jury to understand is, number one, the burden of proof. Number two, reasonable doubt and what that is. And number three, presumption of innocence. Okay, if you've got a jury that can understand those three things, especially as a defense attorney, you're going to be doing okay. All right. Now, as far as burden of proof, it is the prosecutor. I want the jury to understand that it is the prosecutor that has the burden of proof. Okay, they are the ones that have to prove that my client did it. Okay, I could, and I'm serious about this, I could fall asleep at counsel table, put my head down on the desk, and do absolutely nothing during the trial, and I would actually not be committing malpractice by doing that, okay? Because I have to do nothing. The defense has to do nothing. It is the prosecutor that has the burden to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that my client did what they're accused of. Quick side note, I never fall asleep at counsel table. We always challenge everything. We always fight everything. Now, the second thing I want the jury to understand is the idea of reasonable doubt, okay? And I always tell the jury, if you go back for deliberations after you hear all of the facts and you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm really not sure what happened, I have doubt about what actually happened, then you have to come back with a verdict of not guilty, because the prosecutor has the burden to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant did what he is accused of. And the final thing that I want a jury to know and to understand is the idea of presumption of innocence. And we've heard this term forever, okay, that you are presumed innocent. But this is actually the hardest thing for people to get past, because it is human nature for a jury to walk into the room, see the defendant sitting at counsel table, and think, well, if they're here, they must have done it, okay? So we have to understand, or at least get the idea in everybody's head, that you are presumed innocent, okay, until the prosecutor proves beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty. And, I'll ask the jury, and I do this at almost every trial. I'll ask the jury, okay, you understand that my client is presumed innocent, okay? And they all say, yeah, sure, I get that. But then I give an example, and the example is this, okay, why it's so hard to get past the presumption of innocence or understand the presumption of innocence, okay? Because when you're driving down the street and you see somebody stopped on the side of the road and you see them assuming the position being patted down by the police, do you think to yourself, I wonder what that person is presumed innocent of? Hell no, you don't. Okay? Your first thought is, I wonder what that guy did. And that's something that I try to get into everybody's head and to get them to understand that even though we've heard that term, we say, yeah, I understand presumption of innocence. It's not our natural inclination to think that way. So if you have a jury, and I'm sorry this video is going a little long, but if you have a jury that understands the prosecutor's burden of proof, understands what beyond a reasonable doubt is, and understands the presumption of innocence, you're off to a pretty good start. Take care, everybody.